What does human flesh taste like? Everybody I tell this story thinks I should have asked her this question. Truth is, we know little about cruelty, and so nothing prepares you coming face to face with the naked cruelty of human beings. To see this side of human beings, I had to get into one of those small dreadful planes that make my stomach churn. You know, the type that when you look outside, you see the wheel hanging over a moving landscape. It was on my trip with the UN Refugee Agency to Kakuma refugee camp, located in the northwest of Kenya. While in Kakuma, I was told of a Congolese woman who had fled her country. I thought, Congolese? Kakuma? How? So we sat on plastic chairs, and I was ready to hear her tale on how she came from Congo and ended up in Kakuma refugee camp. The story starts in a small village in North Kivu province of the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is where she wore a rented white wedding dress and said, "I do," to her husband. This is also where one evening, when her and her husband were hosting members of the church, a group of Mai militia men stormed into their little house and accused them of hosting Banyamulenges, a minority ethnic Tutsis who the locals believed to be witches. This is also where the Mai dragged one of the pastors out of the house that evening and shot one of them in the head as her children screamed and the husband begged them to stop. This is also the place where they turned to her husband, called him a snake for hosting these Banyamulenges, dragged him out, made him kneel, and shot him in the head. The gunshots echoed in their small boma at the foot of a lush green hill. The sun was just setting in the hills beyond, and unbeknownst to her, it had also started setting on her life. They bound the hands of her two daughters, aged 7 and 5. Together with her 2 children and 2 pastors, and carrying a 1-year-old on her back, they set off in a long file behind the men into the expectant darkness of the looming forest.
We were forced to work for a week. We did not even know how it was a month. The walk was so long and deep into the forest that at some point we could not see the sky anymore. Just darkness. The evil men abused us, called us snakes, beat us. I was raped. The pastor was raped. Our feet peeled and bled from walking. We slept on the wet grass. Our clothes no longer covered our bodies.
Up to this point, it felt like a bad refugee story. It felt like an event that shouldn't have happened, but one that obviously happened. Then as they got deeper into the forest, she dragged me into it with them. I could smell the long elephant grass, the bark of the trunks of the trees the size of a granary. I felt the sinister spirits of the forest. I could smell the septic wounds on them when she said,
Our wound started smelling. I felt like we were not a living thing, like we were rotting like something dead.
And indeed they were dying inside. I felt that same cruel spirit of that forest, and how her children cried constantly. As I went deeper into the forest, I felt the silence of the birds, and the silence of humanity, and the desperation of it all. She narrated this sitting there in the kitenge, hands on her lap, her eyes averted from mine, in case I see the parts of the story that she wanted to keep to herself. The parts other humans, like me, would not interpret. The militia finally brought them to their camp. The Mai were led by a personification of evil called Mokolo, who made her his wife promptly. He threatened her with death, then threatened to eat her children.
The Mai Mai men will be gone for days, and when they come back, they will come back with captives who they will kill and ask me to cut in pieces and boil for their food.
There was no way she or anyone else would have gone through that. No way men would eat other men. I wanted desperately to ask her how human flesh tastes like. But how could I? How could you? How could I narrow down her suffering, her horror, to this mundane curiosity? She then tells me of weeks leading to Christmas with the militiamen.
The men told me they will boil my child to celebrate Christmas. Then they made me light a big fire and put a big pot on top of it. I begged and cried, but they laughed like Satan. They made me place my baby into the boiling pot, and they all stood aside. As the water boiled on my baby, it was very painful, while she screamed her lungs out.
There's nothing I've heard in my life that can match hearing this woman talk about watching and hearing a baby boil in that pot. I'm a father, but you don't have to be a parent to feel your skin crawl, to feel your revulsion at this. You only have to have a heartbeat, because you feel your hands turn cold at hearing this part of the tale. Thankfully, Mokolo asked his men to remove the baby, but not after she was burnt and her skin was peeling off. Of course, these memories made her break down. She cried silently, head bowed. I sat there balancing tears, and I waited for this moment to pass, but knowing it might never pass. I stared at a spot, because when you stare at a spot for long without blinking, your tears will not fall. But then I blinked. When Christmas was near, the men came back with a lot of alcohol and some personal belongings of people they'd ambushed on the road far away from the camp. They didn't bring any humans, but they told her that the following morning they would boil her 1-year-old.
That night, the whole camp drank the alcohol, and by morning, they were all asleep.
She took that opportunity to escape.
We didn't know the forest. We didn't know where we were.
They walked for days, stumbling through the dark forest, avoiding any path seemed to be used by humans or animals.
We walked until my daughter's feet were swollen and our soles peeled off. Mother, why can't I die?
The 5-year-old cried.
Why can't I die and sleep? After 12 nightfall, we met forest guard and told them about the Mai Mai men. They were shocked and scared. They took us to a camp where we ate real food. The next morning, they told us to go to Kenya, that they would accept us there. The guard gave us clothes to wear, and a few of them helped us to get to the Ugandan border. We avoided any path in the forest. But the journey to Kakuma camp was not easy. But we are here now. We are away from those evil men.
I asked her if she was okay now, if her children were okay. She told me bado niko hai, which could be anything from a statement of defiance to a statement of revelation that she is here.
My children, the smallest is 8 years old and can't recall it. But the other two, now 13 and 15, remember very well. Sometimes they wake up screaming. Sometimes they are fine. Sometimes they are not.
I could feel her story break something in me. I couldn't write the story soon after I came back to Nairobi. I didn't know how to write it. I felt inadequate to put the emotion to it, to share with you her plight, to see and feel the pulse of her pain. I think about her story often, and the stories of so many other women, children, families who've undergone such horrific journeys, who have lost their dignity and now struggle to reclaim it, who will have to celebrate Christmas with such adversity. Maybe we could help alleviate these families from the struggles. This Christmas, spread the spirit of giving and donate to families forced to flee across Africa.